Hello. I think it's Thanksgiving time. Probably why it's quite low attendance today.
Yeah, hi Tim, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Yeah, I was noticing that there wasn't any meeting recently because I was looking for the Aries working group meeting for yesterday. I couldn't find any note or video for that, and I think that was actually also the case for the BIFOL meeting as well, but I don't know. Is in the US, it is holidays the whole week here, when or only today. Do you know?
No, I'm not American and I have no idea.
No, yeah, I know. You are not American and you're in Asia right now, so yeah, yeah.
Yeah, couldn't have less to do with America. But I think we can still like let it go through maybe and discuss some of like the 05 stuff and the open stuff and just see coordinate a bit on things. I think that would be useful.
Yeah, have you? It seems like you have seen my draft because I was doing the I'm publishing the meeting notes for today, and I was just in the agenda. I just put the moving to OWF and the 050 release. So yeah. Uh,
Cool.
so yeah, I have seen that there were some comments on the proposal submitted by Karim, right?
Yeah,
For the
yeah.
agent
There were,
framework JavaScript.
yeah. I also left some comments, but we can look at them in a bit.
Yeah, let me share the screen. Mm. So yeah, there was a response here about the governance.
Yeah.
Are you aware of this technical charter thing?
No, but I think we can just like take it over from something else. Like we don't have to because this is just a Linux Foundation technical project. I think we can just take that over. Because the OWF is like a Linux Foundation project.
Yeah. Okay. And then there's also a question about regarding bifold. Here, I
Uh,
think it's somewhere. Yeah.
yeah, I think we can answer that quite easily.
So yeah, okay. So we stated that it's not included here, right? So the bifold will still be part of Hyperledger.
Yeah, I think we just have to explain the relation and that bifold depends on this framework and not other way around.
Yeah.
Because then it makes sense to also more sense to move it separately. Yeah. And I think we can add here that bifold is an application built on the framework. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, for the code of conduct, yeah, it's just about updating the link, I think.
Yeah, I think we should just say that it's currently Hype Ledger code of conduct, but we can just change it to Linux Foundation policy.
Mm-hmm. And we have this, yeah, about the cost of, I will say that the idea is that it will be open wallet foundation, right? Or
Yeah, I think, do they pay tooling policy, or like do they cover GitHub Actions? I think so, right? Because that's the only thing we would need.
okay. Yeah, I guess we should do. Oh. Yeah, we don't even need the packages. No, because we are using npm. So our Discord, yeah, it's more or less the same we have now. Okay, so I think the main issue we have right now is to find a name, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I think we could already merge it without a name. I don't think it should hold it up.
Okay. Have you been thinking, guys, about the name for this thing?
No, not really. No. No. I think, yeah. There's probably, like, I'm very fine with an easy name that's something related to like agent framework JavaScript. I just think agent is not, like, an agent is very generic, and we're talking about an identity agent or something in that lines. I have been thinking about the word trust because it's a lot of things we do here are like built on a foundation of trust, because with DITs you can get some trust that you're interacting with a DIT, or that a credential is from a certain identifier, or these kind of things. So yeah, but nothing concrete.
Okay, let's keep thinking. But yeah, it's a good idea about using the trust as a main concept. That it's I would say that trust is on every aspect of the framework, right? I mean, in the DITCOM, on the replicated credentials, and everything, right? So yeah, we can find maybe a name that can be related to that.
Yeah, so I think that's something that may work. Yeah.
Agent JS, you say, Jakub.
You don't think, Jakub, that agent is like you have like a user agent, for example, which is your browser. Like, don't you think that agent framework JavaScript says very little about what an agent for what?
Yeah, like I understand your point. I kind of agree, but then it's under Open Wallet Foundation, so I guess that gives some context.
Trust agent.js. What do you think?
Yeah, but like trust agents, trust agent. Yeah, I thought that Timo meant that we should add trust agent, but honestly, to me, it's I don't know. It seems still I don't know. Is it better trust agent? Maybe it is, but yeah, to me, like in the context, I like the open wallet foundation projects, as I have seen so far, seems to be quite very like there is quite variability in them. So that's not good, but still it's open wallet foundation. So I would imagine that the message of the open wallet foundation is good enough context that our agent is in that area.
Yeah, so for instance, you mean that when we are going to publish the npm package, we can use the @owf slash agent, for instance, or agent core, I don't know.
I would like a custom scope, because then it avoids having confusion in the future. If there's other OWF repos, then we might have name clashes. I think it's good to have a custom scope for this, especially as long as these packages are very tightly coupled. I think if we have certain components that we extract out of AFJ, make general purpose libraries that are not dependent on Aries framework core, but are really standalone, then I think we could maybe move some to OWF scope and see them as independent packages. But I think that the scope helps in determining, or like helping, like making it seem like it's a bundle of packages that all work together and are really meant to work together.
So you mean different scope than OWF?
Yeah. As long, because
Mhm.
OWF is like broader than this framework. So
Yeah.
I would have like something like, if we call it agent framework, that it's like we now have @Aries framework, we call it agent framework or trust framework, for example. If we have the scope @trust framework, that would be like a good name for me. But that it's like everything that falls under that scope is AFJ, or then the new name, whatever it will be.
Right.
Okay. So, sorry, I'm sorry. I'm still a bit confused. So maybe can you write down the example of that package name, or maybe the scope and the particular package name? I'm a bit confused. What
You say something like
Trust
this.
framework core? Okay.
Yes.
And the name of the repo would be trust framework. Trust framework. Then I mean, like if we go to the GitHub, right? So there will be also, like, currently we have Aries framework JavaScript as the name of the repo, and then we have Aries framework as a scope, I guess.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
the name will then also be trust framework JavaScript, for example.
Okay. Rust JS. Wow, that would
Yes.
be heavy.
See, T-Rust.
Uh-huh.
That's a good naming for if it would be a
T-Rust, yeah.
Rust, yeah, a Rust library.
I think something that was proposed by John Jordan also, I think, was something like open trust kits or something, or like open, because it's open wallet, that you have like open trust framework or something.
Yeah, maybe trust framework is good too. Trust framework, open trust framework. That's I think it's maybe too much words already, and then you will be saying, like, This is Open Wallet Foundation Open Trust Framework. .core or /core. Yeah, okay. Trust framework is also good, I guess.
Okay, let's think a little bit more about this. Maybe we can something more interesting can come up, right? Based on this, on what we have been discussing right now. Maybe some playing of words using the trust, I don't know. Something more funny, let's say, because trust is like very very engineering, let's say, a very engineering word, and right, so it's serious. I mean, but maybe we
yeah,
can...
but it's bold, you know. You say like this is trust
Yes.
framework. Like,
I
and you
work...
really say like if you need trust, you have to use this framework, and you can trust us.
Yeah.
No, you shouldn't trust us because it's open trust. You can
All right.
verify yourself.
Okay, so anything else regarding this? I don't know. No? Okay, so next on in our very small list, we have the 0.5 release. I don't know, Timo, do you want to have some words about it?
Yeah, I think maybe have some thoughts on like what do we want a 0.5 release to be, like when is it ready? We have made some changes. I see now Anoncred's revocation, we have merged it. I think one of the main things we have still open is we want to remove the INI SDK. There's a PR for it open, and we want to update all the what is it, the shared component wrappers to stable versions. And for that, I think we need to make sure that they all work correctly also in React Native. So we need, I think, some people to try out the 0.5 branch, and I don't know if that has been done already.
Yeah, we have been using this in our app, but of course we didn't test every action, because for instance we are not using in the VDR, and also we are not issuing or verifying credentials on the mobile app side, right? So
yeah, okay. So yeah, I think there are some things too. I think the main things that have changed is some things related to verification in the Anoncred's wrapper, right? Maybe yeah, so I think that's... Are there any other things we need to fix before we can release 0.50? I think this DITCOM v2 support, we've pushed it to like next version. I know there's a PR open from you, Ariel, for the message pickup live mode.
yes, I think we can I can try to finish this one this week. I'm testing it in our mediator, so we are trying to see if everything fits correctly as in terms of what we discussed the other week regarding the multi-instance support. But yeah, I think we can this one can be part of the 0.5, I will say.
Okay.
The,
Yeah,
the
I
labels.
think that would be great.
Yeah, and we can also. There is another thing that I will. Well, I will just write it down. And there is also another thing that I would like to have in the in this 0.5 release, and it's about the first part of the. Do you remember this unqualified did coordinated did community coordinated update? We will need for that we will need to support. First of all, we have to finish this PR, the one of the well, this was originally intended to support the peer 3 in the did exchange, but this one supports right now the did peer 2 and also using public DIDs for did exchange. What was missing here was about the definition of the signatures for the did when there was a rotation. So now it has been already defined on the RFC. I think we can quickly implement it and merge it into AFShay. Actually, I have been working on that last week. I have some comments on that. That's I can give you in a moment. And once we have this, we can also support the did peer 4. There was a library done by Daniel Bloom in TypeScript for handling the did peer 4. I'm not sure if it will be needed to use it, or maybe we can just take some ideas or examples from it, because you know that in order to support a new did peer algo in here we are using just some utility method, so maybe it's not worth to add another dependency, but we can see. But anyway, it should be quite straightforward to support the did peer 4. And finally, the third thing we have to add is it's a the did rotation protocol, which is quite simple, but we will need to add another package.
Do you think,
yeah,
it should be another package, or that it should be part of core?
well, I'm not sure, because well, if we are talking about the areas, yeah, we it will be better if it's already integrated into the what we will call the didcom core, let's say. And right now we don't have the didcom. We are using didcom in the core, so it will make sense maybe to add it for the moment into the core. Yeah, maybe into the didcom module that we have in the core, right? In the core we have.
Yeah, I
Yes.
added in chat that I would maybe add it to the connections module, because it's currently very related to connections, and in didcom v2 we won't need
right.
did rotation anymore, so it's very related to didcom v1 and connections, I would say.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
didcom module is also fine to me.
Okay. Yeah. I will. yeah, in regards to this, the thing I wanted to quickly discuss with you is about the fact that in order to add this did rotation attachment that we have in the did exchange protocol, we have the Aries community has decided to bump the version, right? The did exchange version to 1.1. So my question is, what's the best way in the framework code to support two minor versions, let's say, from the same protocol? Because it's clear when we want to support the V1 and V2 and V3 and whatever, but what when we want to support two minor versions? Let's say in this case we have V1 and V1.1. It is quite I don't know. It's a bit complicated for me to understand what's the best naming for this, because you know we cannot use the dots in the class names, and so, but also having the underscore is not so nice neither. So I don't know what I did here. You know that currently the connections module has a lot of has different protocols inside, like the did exchange, the connection protocol, and also the trust ping. But so at the moment, to not modify a lot of things, what I did was to separate the messages for the exchange between the split in the V1, which will be the V1.0, and the V1.1. And then I'm managing in the same handler. I'm using the same handler for both versions. So yeah, I put here in the supported message the two of them. And then, well, in the did exchange protocol class, I'm handling one or I'm requiring or one or another field depending on the protocol used. But I don't know if you have already thought about this possibility, right, Timo?
Yeah, so we had the same thing with out of band v1.0 and v1.1.
Okay.
And how the changes, how because it also came up to back then in the Aries working group call, and so what we ended up then is minor versions of a protocol can be handled by higher versions of the protocol if it's a minor version. So because there's only a minor version change, it is allowed for the other party to send a 1.0 message, for us to respond with a 1.1 message. And the behavior that Aries describes is that you just should ignore the new features, because you just then can assume it's a 1.0 message, and that is allowed. So but you have to know then, as the person sending the 1.1 message, that the features that were added in 1.1 won't be used, so it's better to not use them. So how I would approach it in this case is we don't create new message classes. We just update everything to 1.1. Then in the protocol implementation, we just have some logic where we check if the received message is a 1.0 message, because on the instance, it will have the message type that we received. So that can be a 1.0 or a 1.1. So using the parsed message type, we can check that. And if it's a 1.0 message and it uses a did method that is other than did pair 1, I think that's currently supported, then we throw an error, because that's not supported. And if it's a 1.1 message, we do support it, and we require the what's it called, the routing the did signature or something, the new
Yeah,
attachment that was used.
did rotation. Yeah, did rotation attachment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that one. Then we allow, then we require that one to be present. I think that could just
Okay.
be a one if else statement, and I think that is fine with the way Aries protocols work. And then we can just respond with a 1.1 message always, but we shouldn't use the 1.1 features if the other party sends a 1.0 message to us.
Okay, so so what is very important from what you are saying to me is that we are allowed to respond with a 1.1 message even if we receive a request with 1.0. I mean, we are not going to use the new features, but we are allowed to respond with a 1.1, right? So we can be sure that the other party, even if the other party doesn't support the 1.1, will accept it, or we should assume that, I will say.
Well, this is, I think this, well, it didn't be that, it wasn't the case because Ekapai threw an error, but they made changes of it, and it is the behavior the Aries RFCs describe. But even if even if they don't support it and we want to respond with a 1.0 message, I would still, I think, create one message class that uses 1.1 as the message type, and then just before we respond, if we see that there's an exchange that uses 1.0, we will know we won't use any of the 1.1 features because that's the logic we have, and then we just also in the response message we say that's a 1.0 message instead of a 1.1 message. Yeah, because I think because protocol definitions require that newer versions are not breaking changes, it means you can always update the message basically to the latest version because it should be an optional field. So the did rotation thing is an optional field. So we could use the 1.1 message class just as well to send a 1.0 message.
Okay, all right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. But I will say that now that the previous problem with out of band was fixed in Akapai, I will say that probably they already they will already accept a newer version for this exchange, right? Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, I think, well, like Akapai has implemented did exchange incorrectly since the beginning for 2 years already. So I'm not too worried about Akapai interop for did exchange because we probably won't reach interop until they have implemented v1.1 of the protocol. Anyway.
Yeah, you're right. And for AFJ, if you are just responding with a 1.1 message, for instance, to an agent in 0.4.2 release, it will work.
Yeah, that should work.
Yes.
So yeah, the only thing is then just like if it has a 1.1 message, we receive a 1.1 message while we still have an older version of AFJ, it will just parse it as a 1.0 message and it won't have any knowledge of the new properties that were added. But like as long as we use did pair 1, which the older version of AFJ is the only one it supports, it's fine. But if you have a newer versions of AFJ, then you can start using the new did methods.
Okay, great. Okay, so yeah, I will update the PR with these concepts you just said. And yeah, I will say that maybe we can have all this stuff in the, I don't know what dates are in the, I mean, what are the target dates, right? I would like to do the release by the end of the year, but I don't know. What do you think? It will be
Yeah.
possible?
Yeah, I think that should be a good target. Like we're also working on the OpenID for verified credential stuff, and then we would also like to have that in a stable version, well, in the coming week. So I think yeah, I think that should be doable. And otherwise, I think we should again look at like what is required for this version. And I think what is really required is, well, we have the ANOCREDS verification already. So we need to make sure the ANOCREDS wrappers or no, the shared component wrappers are updated. And then we're in a stable position again, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we can just choose to release whenever it is ready. Yeah.
Yeah, here I added the need of documenting because yeah, I think it will be needed to have some guides about how to use it, because maybe it's more or less clear for us, but for the newcomers or for people who are not very, I mean, who don't know a lot about ANOCREDS and IFJ, it will be not easy to understand how to issue a credential, what's needed to create an interface to create for the tails file, for instance, and that stuff. So I will make sure that we can have at least a practical guide about how to use this feature.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense.
Well, it seems like we have a lot of work to do in the incoming month, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, anything else? I don't know if I am forgetting something, or well, there were some other things that you mentioned because there is a discussion. We have these minor things like making the label optional in auto-fund dictation and some other stuff, right?
Yeah, I think we should include that one. That's a very simple one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I can edit this this post so we can have it updated. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. I will do it after the meeting, summarizing all the stuff we have, and also that we are going to postpone the ITCOM V2 and so on.
Yeah.
All right.
I have one more topic I would like to discuss.
Okay.
Which is, can I share my screen while I?
Oh yeah, sure. Let me go ahead.
Let me see. All right. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
All right. This is a PR I created, and my question is not necessarily about this PR, but it allows you to query tenant records using a label. And the thing is, we currently don't store tenant, we don't explicitly marked tenant, like the label in a tenant record as a tag. So that means you can't query on it until you fetch the record and restore, like update the tags for it. So to enable this feature, which in a normal like implementation of a web service would be quite easy, because you just add an SQL query to now query by the label, this now becomes a very complex problem because we need to add this method, add the tag, and now in the update, we need to, what is it? We need to fetch all records and then update them and save them in storage to resave the tags. Well, there is probably an more efficient way to do it, but right now this is the way we do it in the framework. I was thinking like, yeah, it's especially in server deployments, this is just very like complex, and not to say about how are we going to do migrations for actual tenants, because this is just a tenant record which is managed by the main agent, and we haven't had any big breaking changes since we've added the tenants module. But like, how are we going to handle this for tenants, which I see as a real problem, and I've already brought it up before, like how can we do storage and can we use like a normal database? But I was also curious, like if people have like dug into the, what is it called, like the spec that the identity hub is built on, which is like a secure storage way, and it's also like an encrypted storage. I don't know how it's called, but I think they have like a very generic approach on how you can query data, and it's all stored encrypted, but you can just like store nested data, structured data, but you can also query that structured data, but it is stored encrypted, and that a lot of the limitations are here because we stringify the JSON and we query on that. But if we were to store records more as structured data, and then we could still encrypt the keys and values and everything, but it would be a lot easier, because then if I were to now want to query for label, I could just encrypt label with the key that needs to be used to encrypt the key name. And then I can also search for the value without having to restore the whole thing. And I think like, because we store it as a string that is encrypted, that makes it very hard. So if there's things we can look at, for example, looking at the spec for like a encrypted data store, I think it's called maybe.
Yeah, it was called the encrypted data vault.
Oh yeah. Okay, that one. Yeah, that's the one I mean. By looking at things like that to maybe improve that, maybe that is something that Ascars could support. Maybe we need to change how we integrate with Ascar and not save everything as a string, but like store structured data more as separate keys and values in Ascar, so it becomes easier to do. I don't really know, but I was curious if people have thoughts on this, read that spec, or know of any other ways how you do get the benefits of like encryption, maybe even client-side encryption. But I think the encrypted data vault also does client-side encryption instead of sending the data to the server and letting the server do the encryption. But you do get the benefits from like a normal way to query and work with your data.
Yeah, I think that there is also something that we were discussing when for instance, for the mediator use case, for instance, is that maybe we won't really need to have such an encrypted database, or at least not in the way we are using it in right now with Ascar, and I actually maybe we can use something different that can be faster to query, because in the mediator we will be mostly doing queries about recipient keys or any other tag or well, tag is how we call it here in the SDK or Oscar world, right? But so yeah, I think that well, this is related with what we were discussing some time ago about separating the storage layer, right?
Yeah.
It will be very interesting to start working on that maybe in the for the next major release.
Yeah, I think that might be a good one, and I think we shouldn't necessarily mandate what needs to be used, but I think that's also a big change for difference with, for example, Veramo uses like a normal ORM to have their models, and they can just store things in the database. And if you need encryption, I think they just manage that on a database level. Because if you're a mobile, then you can just use an encrypted SQLite database locally, which I think doesn't provide any disadvantage over like using Aries Oscar on your mobile. And also like in a server scenario, there may be like there could be the real benefit with like Aries Oscar over like a server database that handles the encryption is, I think, if you use a remote database provider that you don't trust with the data. So if the database gets exposed or something, but I think there's like so many other factors that like your software still has access to that database. So I think there's a lot of other ways you could solve the same problems. Then Aries Oscar does it. So maybe like looking at the mediator deployment, because it's mostly handling connections, and we look at how can we do that with another store than, for example, Aries Oscar, and then also looking at, but how can we have a good implementation for crypto, because you do want to make sure that your keys are securely stored, and maybe therefore something like Aries Oscar is a nice way to do it, but that we don't use it for like the data that we want to be highly queryable and indexable. So with keys, we know, okay, we want a key, we always want to address that by a key ID or a public key. So that's the thing. Like there's not a lot more ways how you can index a key, but with all the dynamic records we have, we do want to more flexibility. So it becomes like a hybrid approach.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we have to distinguish between the crypto part, the wallet part, what we call the wallet with Karim, and the other part, the custom records part, which is mostly the part that we will need to have the indexing and that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That it's maybe less confidential, and at the same time will be more in needs of having some good performance.
Yeah, and I think maybe if we look at providing a way to have like different kind of stores in the agent, I think that would help for different use cases maybe, because like you don't want to store credential issuance records ideally after you issue it anyway, because then you don't want to store all the sensitive information. But there is, for example, if I think of a tenant record, the tenant record currently stores like metadata about the tenant, such as the label, which is not that sensitive, and it stores the key to unlock the tenant wallet, which is sensitive. And now they're in one record, but I think ideally if we have like more separation, we should have one record that is like a tenant record, which stores just the data about the tenant, which is highly queryable and indexable and everything. And we have a secure store where we then just store the key of that tenant. and the key can only be accessed by accessing the secure vault.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for the input.
Yeah, no, this is something that we have to definitely work on in order to make this more flexible, performant, scalable, especially.
Yeah.
All right, so we have 6 minutes left. I don't know if it's anything else that you would like to discuss, or otherwise we can talk in 2 weeks.
Not from my side.
All right, and I hope in the next week, in the next meeting, we will not have that many draft PRs as we have right now, so we can have them merged.
Yeah.
So let's do it. All right, so thank you guys, and so see you in a few weeks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.